Here's Mr. Steve Laidlaw.
All right, so for today's webinar, the one that we did about a month ago was very focused on the reserve study writing tool and how that worked, how you as an engineering firm or a reserve study specialist can use that to save time, add productivity, to take kind of your conventional reserve study that may have taken 30 to 50 hours with a camera, clipboard, and a spreadsheet, and reduce that down to 5 to 10 hours. Because it's all being done inside Stelor and inside our database, then takes all the information in those studies and indexes them so that they can be used in a number of different ways. And that's what I wanted to focus on today. And it all starts with Stelor BLD, the reserve study writing tool. Once a study has been completed or written in Stelor, the ways that we can use that data for budgeting, the ways that those customers can use it for vendor management, connect into more affordable, more comprehensive insurance policies. And I guess finally, the way that through using Stelor, we are now creating a new product that will actually protect your customers from special assessment in the form of a reserve study warranty. Give them essentially a reserve study in a box, software and service solution in this Stelor Express. Be awarded the reserve study, and that will pass over to us. My team of engineers will go out using Stelor. They will do the on-site inspection. They will calculate all the takeoffs, they will write the study, prepare the financial models, compile the report, and then send it back. We have another company where they actually like doing the on-site inspections, and they have a team of engineers. It's just much more scalable if their engineers are the ones on site, taking down all the observations, the comments, the recommendations. My engineers will do the takeoff calculations, write the reports, do the funding models, and pass it back to them to then present to their customers. Easy way to scale up and down as seasonalities in quantity of work may occur. Then all that data goes into what we call the Capital Lifecycle platform. It's basically just a digitalized reserve study. All those reserve studies go in there. They're now fully indexed, sorted, organized, ready for query, ready for use in these products like Stelor PM, which is budgeting and financial projections, kind of what if scenarios. And then it also connects you into vendor management, insurance, lending, and document review. And essentially we call it viability scoring. So moving on, I'm now going to demo Stelor PM. This is the platform that we've created for homeowner associations, condos, and the property managers that manage them. And essentially it takes that digitalized reserve study, pulls it in here, and gives you tools to be able to help manage that, identify shortfalls, identify changes or differences that as you move out, 2, 3, 4 years from the initial reserve study. So this is what the property looks like. It's just got a number of KPIs across the top, and then it's running forward from today's date of when this was run. I think this study was actually written in 2022. I go in here. Yeah, 2022 was the original study, and we are now in 2025 with updated financials, updated budgets, taking the actual capital projects that have occurred in the last 3 years and applying them out, and just comparing the actual bank balances in the reserve to what was forecasted in the reserve study. And so now this is running out, and you can see that as we get into 2043, we have 3 or 4 years where we're dipping into negative bank balances or what would be a special assessment. You have the ability to click special assessment, recalculates, and you can see it's showing which years there's going to be special assessments and how much in order to just keep a zero balance along those years, and how much you would have to special assess on, or it's not on based on unit factor, but on a per unit basis. And so this is just a tool so that people can understand what that's going to cost the individual users over the total kind of life cycle of this, and then also in those individual years. In this case, it's not actually that severe. $2,300 in total special assessments over this period of time is not anything too excessive. But we can also say, hey, if we wanted to avoid that, how much would we have to increase condo fees today, and what would that look like? And so you can see it runs, and it kind of just stacks this skinny line along the top here, that from 2025 to 2043, you would have to increase the total fees by $15,750 or about $120 per unit per year. Once you get past 2044, then that actually declines until it goes back to zero into the regular funding model. So that's far out, you actually probably wouldn't make those changes, but it's identifying those things sooner and giving those condo managers and the associations themselves tools to be able to understand that better. As well, your reserve study sits here, so you're able to just download a PDF of it. There you go. And then these tools right here, they're basically like a setup wizard that walks you through how to update on an annual basis what's happened in the last year, and then to update also, I guess, your plan going forward the next 3 to 5 years with which projects are we going to approve and which ones are we going to defer. And then inside that gives you the ability to these reports then generate automatically, and they typically get used as part of the AGM package. You can download both of those, which I will. So this is a reserve fund plan. This is just done in Stelor colors. Again, this whole platform is white labeled. So if you were to adopt Stelor BLD as your reserve writing tool, this would all be done up in your colors and your brands, and your actual company logos would be all over this. Same thing with these reports, which I'll show you the 5-year plan first. So here's the 5-year plan. It's just a standardized report that pulls in kind of the actuals, opening balance versus actual, contribution versus actual, interest earned on the reserve versus actual, and then a forecast going forward. And in the next year, what are the planned expenditures? So these are the ones that show up on it. And then over the next 5 years, what are the planned expenditures in each year? Just get displayed in a nice, easy to use report. The other one is the annual look back. So it's just a 1-year look back. Basically at fiscal year end, you'll go into your reserve. Again, the setup wizard will help walk you through, and it will just say these are the budgeted expenditures that were supposed to come out of reserve. This is what was actually spent out of reserve. This is the budgeted contributions to the reserve. This is what you actually contributed, and then it runs it out. And so here it is. Opening balance, they nailed it. It was very close. Contributions, they actually in this case, they contributed more than was actually budgeted. They generated more interest than was expected, and their closing balance was higher than expected. And then the last thing is called a viability report. And so this is more almost at a consumer or a condo owner basis. Basically, it's like a credit score for your condominium based on the health of the reserve. And so we do this credit score, the first overall one, and then you also can flip it to a report card, which will give you a grade on each one of these things based on our calculations. So the first one is financials. And basically what the reason why the score is so low is they hold their contributions steady at quite a low rate, and then they have one really large special assessment in 2025 planned. And so without that special assessment, then you have a pretty negative look at that. And so it gives you a bad score as a result. And then right here, it compares what happens in years 1 through 5 versus 11 through 20. And basically, if you are buying a condo and there's 37.6% of the capital projects for the full 30-year projection coming in years 1 through 5, that's a high-risk condo to buy into. And then the next one is if you are using Stelor BLD and you have a large portion, or maybe even your core business of your engineering firm is doing capital projects, civil structural engineering projects, project management. All of your reserve studies are now sorted, indexed, and all that information is available inside our database so that you can search and query. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to search, all right, what asphalt projects are coming in 2025 to 2027. It is going to come up with every property, in this case that Reserve Plus had on it in the platform, that has a budget in 2026 or 2027 for asphalt. And then it basically acts as a CRM, in that you can now connect back into Spruce Ridge if you wanted to and find out who the property manager is, look back at the old reserve study, see some of the financials, look into the budgets to see if they have budgets well allocated to be able to manage this. And within here, you can just see it's got a $136,000 budget for 2027. There's 31,550 square feet of asphalt. It's 28 years old. And so you can search that. This is also exportable to CSV, so you can do further kind of organizing and searching if you want to on your own. But like if I was looking through here, 28 years old, that's a good project. 23 years old, that's a good project. 28 years old, that's a good project. $120,000. 5 years, that's just going to be some like line painting and crack filling. It's not going to be anything huge. Even 15 years, that's probably just some budget for like pothole fills and crack filling. But 36 years old and 70,000 square feet, that's a good project. I'd follow up on that one. And so you can see how being able to search in here, identify these projects, you can now be contacting them. They might know that their asphalt is in bad shape, but they might not have thought about actually like going to spec and procure for those projects, actually thinking about contacting an engineering firm or an asphalt contractor to start working on that project. And so it gives you the ability to get out in front of those. One of the other things that we do here, again, because we have superior data and it's just all in there, it's indexed, it's ready to go, is we provide, we have a number of referral partners that we will connect them into insurance offerings. And what we found is that because we are sending this out to 3 brokers who are hitting 3 different markets, there's more competition. And as well, because our data is better than what a broker is typically able to pull up on his own, we're able to give more customized, better coverages that are more specific to the property rather than a one-size-fits-all. And so on average, we've been seeing kind of a 10 to 20% savings on insurance premiums by using this request portal to access our insurance providers. And we actually have another one. It's just still in version test. It's almost the exact same for requesting a condo or HOA loan. So we have a lending service. We have a number of referral banks that just love our data set, love the supporting documents that come with it. And the property managers, I mean, lots of them know places to go borrow money too, but it's just ours has better data. It's a click of a button. It connects it all up, and it's a really seamless process. The other thing, again, because we have all this index, it's very similar to that query tool that I was mentioning before, is we have this kind of property management dashboard. It lists all kind of a company profile, all the properties that you have online. This particular company has 135 approved vendors that they like to work with, and so they're all in here. We do some compliance tracking. This is kind of what the vendor side looks like, where they need to upload their documents, WCB, insurance, things like that. It will list them, their compliance status, and then because, again, we kind of know when these projects are coming, when they're budgeted, it's like an intelligent marketplace, and then it automatically moves in here and creates these, basically sets up RFQs for you, the engineer, to send out, or for the property manager to approve and send out. And then these approved vendors have the opportunity to come in and bid, or to request more information, come to site, whatever they need to do in order to provide that bid. So that kind of wraps up the demo of me just trying to go through all the different things that our tool can do other than write a reserve study, the ways it will support your customers. And the last thing I wanted to talk about, which I had kind of touched on a little bit, was Stelor Protec. And so what we've done is because we have a very large database full of a lot of capital replacement, lifecycle information, and we also plug in a little bit to Marshall and Swift and RS means, and have built out a number of costing and design life criteria, and then we're putting that into normalized and logarithmic distribution models in order to stress test the reserve studies that are being written. And what that allows us to do is to stress test and basically kind of create some worst case scenarios for these condos with regards to underfunding and special assessment, which then allows us to run it through an insurance product where we're able to build this warranty in which we can set out essentially a premium, deductible, and max coverage that will be applied to the reserve study that has just been written, either by, say, Reserve Plus, or by one of your reserve study providing companies that you're associated with. And essentially, it's just a huge differentiator. There are lots of reserve study providers out there. There are lots of really great reserve study softwares and reserve study providers. This is the only place where you could have a reserve study that is guaranteed not to have special assessment, that it is warranted against special assessment. And the way that we've done that is we built up insurance capacity in behind it. And so we have a number of insurance companies and reinsurers that are providing the capacity there. And so through Stelor, you can essentially buy a warranty to guarantee your reserve studies that are written inside Stelor BLD and run through our stress tests to your customers. We expect to kind of release that product in January 2026 is when I understand that we'll have most of our capacity ready to go, and we will start. All right. Thank you so much. If any of you want to book a one-on-one, there's a QR code right there. We're going to download this presentation, ask me questions kind of one-on-one, and really go through the software and understand how it could work for you and for your business.